I hate to admit it, but as I get older, I kind of like Reddit, guys. I mean, there's the obvious thing where if you ever want a real answer to a question on Google, you just put Reddit after in the search bar. But I don't know, Reddit is kind of fun to scroll. But nothing is all good. Not that anyone was ever gonna say that about Reddit anyway. But Reddit has some pretty disturbing, disgusting communities, or as they're called on Reddit, subreddits. I'm sure I don't have to explain what a subreddit is, but just in case there's any goo goo gaga babies watching, they're like little sections of Reddit. Everything on Reddit is sorted into different subreddits. For example, r/nosleep has all the scary stories, and my personal favorite r/idiots in cars is full of people driving horribly. But there are subreddits for everything. Interests, fandoms, cities even. And some are a little disturbing. So let's learn about them. Now be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Leave a like, leave a comment, and my Discord server and Instagram are both in the description. You should definitely check it out. Without further ado, let's get into this. r/dragons f***ing cars. This one is exactly what it sounds like. I really can't tell if this is a genuine, like, kink, or if it's more of a joke/artistic interest, because trust me, I know some weird kinks, but this one seems too funny to be, like, real. But I don't know, I mean, no kink shaming here, at least not yet. We'll get there later on. The subreddit rules here are pretty funny to me. The first one literally says, posts must have a dragon fucking a car, and I guess there are an abundance of more confused people, because the next rule is no why does this sub exist posts. The rest of the rules is no aftermath pics. All AI generated art must be flared, and no human porn. I scrolled through a little and there's not too many posts I can actually show. Most of them don't have nudity, but they do have snow, if you know what I mean. I actually saw one that made me like squeal and like just like grovel in my chair. So I don't really want to scroll anymore. Let's just move on. This next one is pretty on topic for my channel, so let's talk about r/DPH. If you're a fan of my channel, I'm sure I don't need to introduce what DPH is, but I still will for the newcomers. I'll have my editor put a progress bar for the explanation bit so you don't need to watch if you don't want to. DPH, aka diphenhydramine, aka Benadryl, is an allergy/sleep medicine that is known for its really nice mood-lifting sedative effect, at least at low doses. If you take about more than 4, which you should not do, by the way, you can start hallucinating spiders, shadow people, develop short-term schizophrenia, paranoia, all sorts of stuff. Now, I'm not here to judge, but if you were under 18, do not attempt this, and even if you're over 18, continue at your own risk, please. Now, r/DPH is a subreddit dedicated to this community of tripping. Now, I've spent a bit of time in here reading and such, and it's actually not a really bad subreddit. It's actually pretty supportive. The rules say, be nice, don't glorify drug use, do not recommend combinations of drugs. Like, if you're already doing this kind of drug, this really isn't a bad place to be, it seems. I'm sure there are a lot of bad apples that ruin it for everyone else, trolls, bad people, of course, but this subreddit is more disturbing just because it's about a drug that makes you see crazy shit. If you want to learn more about that, I do have this video on screen, Disturbing Drugs Explained to Benadryl, you can check out if you really care, but let's just get into this subreddit. Now, there's also just really cool shit on here. Like, this is from u/suitable distance 656, and it's just like a fire piece of art. Anyway, there's some disturbing stuff on here, like trip reports. I want to read at least one of these so you guys can really get how disturbing this drug can be, especially when done so casually. This one is from a deleted user, and it comes with an image, a screenshot of a previous post the OP made while actually starting the trip. Again, do not trip, guys, but here we go. Let's read. Around 10 p.m., I took 675 milligrams, with 200 milligrams left in my pockets. I hadn't eaten for 2 days before. Around 11 p.m. when I made the post was probably the last few minutes I was mentally there. Being lost in some forest in the middle of the night, even sober, especially in downtown Vancouver, is already fucking crazy. But I don't trip in my room, and I thought maybe I could scare the addiction out of me if I have a bad enough trip. I had a small water bottle and knife in me. My phone background said it's not real, so I could remind myself, but my phone died shortly after my post. I haven't seen my phone since. I'm using my computer to type this. 11:30-ish, no sense of time. Everything was drifting and moving. The trees were like whispering to me. I could feel insects crawling all around me, but when I would look, nothing was there. The smallest sounds made me jump, so I nearly had a heart attack, literally, when some guy walked past me and asked if I had a cigarette. His face was disfigured, like it had been burnt off. I tried to say no, but what came out was a slow and inaudible "not it." Once I started hearing other men who were clearly drunk in the distance, I kept my knife in hand. I would later find several small wounds on my thigh because I think I was accidentally hitting it but couldn't feel it. I would try to sit down because I felt 200 pounds, but I'd get up after seeing all the insects on the floor that would start coming onto me. But after getting up, I would go sit down again, forgetting why I got up. It felt like I did this 10 times. The men in the distance were louder. They were yelling at me, insulting me, calling me a weak, stupid little bitch for not taking more. I thought taking more would make them stop. Thinking I only took 300 milligrams for some reason, I decided to dry swallow the rest of the pills. They sounded worse. I could hear their footsteps like they were running towards me. But like in any nightmare, I couldn't run. I was trying, but it felt impossible. I would go one way, see a tall-ass shadow figure at least 10 feet, and try to go another way. But because this was a path, this meant I ended up walking into bushes. Nowhere felt safe. My vision was insanely blurry, and it was so dark I practically felt blind. But I could hear the voices coming from every direction. I would walk one way away from it, and then suddenly it was in front of me again. I was violently shaking, both because I couldn't help it, but also to try to shake off the hundreds of beetles off me. It felt like I was time traveling and teleporting. I would walk one way and end up somewhere else, not sure how I got there. I started hearing my name. It was the voice of my dead mom. She was asking me what I was doing and where I was. I would speak out, but my mouth felt paralyzed. I ended up just mumbling. I got a call from my guardian asking where I was. I made out the words "park" and then stopped when I realized I didn't even have my phone on me. While walking, when I would look down at my legs, I would start freaking out because I didn't know why I had legs. Like, I didn't know what I was. The next thing I remember is making it out back to the path, thinking I had to go home now for dinner, and all of a sudden this impeding sense of doom and fell. I felt like I was completely paralyzed, both physically and mentally. I was looking to the side and see this huge spider coming toward me, but I couldn't move. My heart rate felt like 240 BPM. It felt like my eyes were about to close permanently. I genuinely believed I was dying. Now that I look back at this, I think I was seizing. After this, the rest of the night is hard to make out, like I was going in and out of consciousness for hours. The next time I felt like I was actually alive, the sun was out, but it was very clearly still very early. My chest hurt so much, but my heart rate was normal. I was on the ground and immediately got up because I fucking hate bugs and didn't want them on me. I was still seeing flashing and black spots, but there were no more voices. When I went to check my phone, I realized I'd lost it and didn't have my knife on me either. I walked for a couple hours and found myself near a hospital. I was originally near Stanley Park and ended up near St. Paul's Hospital, but I didn't want to go in. But when 2 police officers saw me and asked if I was okay, and I said I was, they could see I wasn't. I didn't have the energy to transit home, so I thought I might as well have a bed, and I admitted myself. Now I am home, and all I can think about is when I'm going to take Benadryl again. Holy fuck, dude. God. Okay, so the top comment on this literally says, "What the fuck is the appeal of taking DPH when this is your experience?" W cardboard cruise ship response. Holy fuck, this sounds so scary. Be careful, everyone. Please stay safe. This is educational. This video, don't do this. I'm not advocating this shit. Please. Next, we're gonna talk about r/feeders. This one is kind of like any fitness community, but on opposite day. Now, no hate to these people. You do you, bruh. I know I do some pretty weird stuff myself, but it's fun to look at. So there are people who are sexually attracted to other people getting fat, like inflation kink, but it's actually real. And apparently there are different subsects too. There are bloaters, stuffers, and gainers. Holy shit. Scrolling through this, I am traumatized. You guys are lucky you don't have to look at this. So stuffers, from what I can tell, are women who are into feederism, and gainers are gay, I think. Don't take my word on this, I really don't know. I'm just looking at this, like, these subreddits and trying to give it my best answer. Most of the posts on this subreddit, as well as its sister subreddits like r/gainers and r/stuffers, is progress pics or pics of people after they ate a lot of food and how fat they are after because of the bloating. So it's really like a fitness sub but backwards. I mean, you do you, bruh. Again, there definitely is a question here though, because this fetish, while being okay, has some health concerns. Nothing against the people or calling them weird, but gaining weight this much can be objectively unhealthy. How much should we normalize this behavior? The people here are valuable, but should we encourage behavior that is unhealthy simply based on a possible fear of not being accepting enough? Where's the line? This is a hard conversation to have, but there has to be a balance. But I'm not the guy to decide. I'm just a 19-year-old dude on YouTube. But I don't know. I think a lot of these people are going down a physically unhealthy path, and they should at least be wary. The next subreddit we have, guys, is r/human toilet slaves. God, I don't want to talk about this one. Okay, I'll get it out of the way. I don't kink shame, but come on, man, what the fuck? This shit just like grosses me out. If you can't tell from context, this subreddit is for people who are into being used as a toilet. I scrolled through 3 posts and I almost threw up at my desk, I swear to God. I'm not gonna spend much time here, I'm sorry. If you're into this, good for you, I guess. I cannot, holy fuck, I will not be able, never be able to unsee what I saw today for you guys. Now let's get into one that isn't physically disturbing. It doesn't really cause a physical revolt, but definitely an emotional one. r/the red pill. The red pill is an idea, a community that, from their perspective, says it's about realizing that the world basically isn't fair. That as a man, your looks, money, and status define you. It's male-centric, it's all about how to improve these factors so that you can be more attractive. It became necessary from them again, from a point of men coming to a realization that girls don't go for the nice guy, the guy with a good personality. All these Disney ideas, you know, and it's supposed to be more, quote, realistic. And this sounds good, right? If it's contained to this, I mean, sure, go off, King. It can be true that life isn't like Disney. But let me tell you, it goes so much further than this. These men who are on the red pill follow people like Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate is a perfect example of how this can go badly. How, oh, make more money, it's good for you, can turn into all women are whores and they only want money. It's how, oh yeah, Mew, have tongue posture, improve your looks, can turn into women are objects that inherently are evil because they don't want to sleep with me because I'm not a Chad. It can get so fucking gross. Now listen, I am here for some of what this promotes. Self-improvement, men's hygiene and health, all good things. But of course, humans are the worst, and when they get into these self-contained vacuums, these communities, they start to turn evil. They start to blame women, and what could be simply good self-improvement instead turns into horrible misogyny. Now, poi lore drop, I do really get into looks maxing as a hobby, health maxing, all that stuff. Yeah bro, I'm you. I chewed jawliner gum for a while. I have an 11-step skincare routine. But guess what? I was able to do all of this while still respecting and loving women. I'm of the thinking that all immaturity comes from seeing the world as black and white. If you see all women as horrible whores, you're immature. Maturity is realizing that no one is all good or all bad. Sure, some women can be materialistic and annoying, but guess what you can do though? Just don't talk to them. You don't have to blame them for all your problems. And also, like, men can be the same way. But also, again, you have to realize women are humans just like you. If you think it's impossible for a woman to be caring and have a good heart, to have good values, you are a sexist and should not be allowed to be taken seriously in society. There are shitty women and shitty men, and there's great women and great men. And there are shitty non-binary people and great non-binary people. That's a good idea. You know, ask a misogynistic red pillar about non-binary people. Are they whores? Okay, sorry, my script kind of went crazy about some random shit. I just get passionate about this. But let's look at the actual subreddit. Sorry, guys. So this subreddit promotes anti-feminism, rape culture and traditional gender roles. What actually gets talked about on a daily basis is things like diet, physical fitness, pickup techniques, and a personal expression that really boils down to varying levels of misogyny, from simple frustration all the way to the virulent hatred of women. In 2018, the Southern Poverty Law Center actually called out r/the red pill as one of several male supremacist subreddits that pushed xenophobic and hateful ideas. And honestly, that tracks. This subreddit really isn't just about men promoting and improving themselves. It's about creating an entire ideology around male superiority. One critic even compared it to the alt-right, pointing out how both thrive on attacking feminism and joking about rape like it's edgy humor instead of what it really is: gross, dehumanizing nonsense. Publications like The New Statesman went as far as labeling it as one of the most misogynistic corners of Reddit, saying its real purpose was to radicalize men under the guise of self-improvement, which, if you've ever spent 5 minutes scrolling through that place, yeah, that checks out. Now listen, I am a proponent of the idea that people in this community are both villains and victims. Don't cancel me, but I used to watch Hamza when I was a freshman in high school. There is hope for you. You can change. People can change. Now this next one isn't dark in the usual way. It's not gross and it's not creepy, but it is one of the more chaotic parts of Reddit history. r/piracy. In 2019, Reddit actually threatened to ban the entire subreddit after getting hit with a wave of DMCA takedown notices. The mods fired back, saying that Reddit wasn't even checking if those copyright claims were legit. A lot of the people weren't sharing illegal files, but rather talking about streaming sites, asking if certain ones worked, or posting tutorials on how to install software. Still, the legal pressure got so bad that the community ended up voting to delete everything older than 6 months, just to avoid getting nuked. Imagine thousands of posts just gone overnight. Then in 2022, Reddit took things even further and banned r/pirated games, which had over 300,000 members and was basically the go-to spot for talking about cracked games. The funny part? They explicitly banned sharing actual pirated games. It was more like a discussion hub, but Reddit still dropped the hammer after another flood of DMCA claims. The backlash was so huge that they reversed the ban the next day. According to Torrent Freak, this was part of a massive anti-piracy push across Reddit. Over 2,600 subreddits got wiped for the same reason, and DMCA takedowns had skyrocketed by more than 15,000% in just 5 years. So yeah, the golden age of piracy talk on Reddit was officially over. This one's kind of boring though, so let's just move on. Let's swing to the mirror image that popped up on the other side of this gender war. r/female dating strategy. Same energy, opposite direction. If Red Pill tries to turn a resentment into a system for controlling women, FDS, or female dating strategy, tries to turn resentment into a system for controlling men. Different villains, same pipeline. So FDS launched in 2019, and by August 2021, it had around 179,000 members, mostly heterosexual women. From the jump, it was controversial. r/against hate subreddits accused it of promoting homophobia, transphobia, misandry, and discrimination against sex workers. The Verge described the actual advice on the sub as socially conservative, sexually conservative, and ultimately oppressive to women. Yes, ironically, to women. Where the Red Pill framed self-improvement as a weapon against women, FDS framed standards and strategy as a weapon against men. Just like the Red Pill has its commandments, FDS is rigid to the point of exile. The rules are strict. Openly supporting consensual BDSM, watching porn, or even being okay with casual sex can get you banned. Not practicing those things, just being okay with them. The result is a community that polices behavior and belief as tightly as any manosphere offshoot, only with the target flipped. There's also a very formal hierarchy. Moderators are literally called ruthless strategists. The community is prioritized over the individual, and members are advised not to speak with journalists. Those practices have been called cult-like, which again parallels the echo chamber vibes we just saw with the Red Pill. Their stances get even more hardline. The sub advises against dating men with mental illnesses and has banned members for saying that men can be victims of sexual assault. They oppose liberal feminism, libfems, and endorse TERF-like views. Transgender women aren't allowed to post at all. This is fucked up. Critics point out the contradictions too. They preach independence from men while simultaneously expecting men to pay for dates and be the primary breadwinners. That's the same kind of internal whiplash we called out in the red pill, claiming realism while building a fantasy that flatters your in-group. To be fair, FDS defenders argue that they're just drawing boundaries. A co-host of the FDS podcast told The Guardian in 2022 that FDS isn't about trying to manipulate men into trying to behave a certain way, it's more about finding a man who is comfortable with you having boundaries and standards and who understands how to treat a woman. That's the charitable read, I guess. The problem is the implementation inside the sub. The bans, the dogma, the hostility often looks less like boundaries and more like ideology. Even the language reflects that drift. Historically, FDS leaned hard on femcel jargon, but they dialed it back when it started hurting recruitment. The rebrand didn't ditch the bite, though. Men are scrotes, and women who don't toe the line get labeled pigmacia? That insult gets pinned not just on users who push back on the mods or say they enjoy banned behavior like casual sex, but also on women elsewhere, like people in other subs asking for help with a partner's erectile dysfunction. It's the same linguistic gatekeeping we see in the manosphere. Invent terms, draw lines, and exile the heretics. So when you put r/female dating strategy next to r/the red pill, you get two sides of the same coin. It's pretty fucked up. Next, we're gonna talk about r/deepfakes. This subreddit didn't just cause a controversy, it changed the internet forever, and not in a good way. It was created by a Reddit user who literally went by the name Deep Space Fakes, and in 2017, he figured out a disturbing new use for AI, taking the faces of real women, usually celebrities, and mapping them onto porn videos. The results looked real, like disturbingly real. Imagine a video that looks exactly like you, your face, your voice, but it's not you. Try convincing people that it isn't. If it looks like you, it might as well be. The user started uploading his creations and then built a subreddit named after himself, r/deepfakes, to share them. Within 2 months, it exploded to around 15,000 members, filled with AI-generated porn of celebrities. But it didn't stop there. People started asking for deepfakes of real women, teachers, co-workers, even sisters, to blackmail them or humiliate them. It's horrifying to think about, but that's what the sub became, a factory of synthetic abuse. Just like how the red pill twisted self-improvement into hate and FDS twisted boundaries into hostility, this community twisted innovation into exploitation. And just like those, it started as a niche forum that spiraled way beyond its original intent. At first, you actually need real skills to make deepfakes, coding knowledge, strong GPUs. But in 2018, one user released Fake App, a simple tool that made the process nearly automatic. Upload a few images, click a button, and AI would handle the rest. That one app democratized violation. Anyone could do it. From there, the situation exploded beyond Reddit's control. On January 24th, 2018, a blog article exposed the subreddit and directly blamed it for starting the AI porn epidemic. The post went viral, and within 2 weeks, Reddit banned r/deepfakes entirely, along with announcing a site-wide ban of all involuntary explicit content. But by then, the damage was done. The technology had escaped the lab, and the term deepfake, originally just the username of a single Redditor, became the global phenomenon we know it today as. Even after the ban, the problem didn't die. Fake App kept spreading, new communities kept forming, and deepfake blackmail became a modern form of harassment that still exists today. Now, this next one, it's not edgy and it's not ironic. It's genuinely one of the darkest things Reddit ever hosted. r/watch people die. This subreddit was exactly what the name says. Real footage of real people dying. Car crashes, workplace accidents, suicides, executions, murders, everything that the rest of the internet has to hide. It was like a digital morgue disguised as education. The community claimed it was about understanding mortality or raising awareness, but the truth is most people went there out of morbid curiosity. It was Reddit's window into human death, and once you looked through it, you really couldn't unsee it. The subreddit started gaining traction in the early 2010s, growing into a massive community with hundreds of thousands of members. On paper, it wasn't breaking Reddit's rules at the time, because technically it was just quote, documenting reality. And for a while, Reddit let it slide under the same logic as journalism or news coverage. But the difference was tone. The comments weren't respectful or educational, they were cold, joking, detached. It turned death into entertainment. Then, in March 2019, everything changed. The Christchurch mosque shooting in New Zealand was live-streamed on Facebook, one of the most horrifying events ever caught on camera, and within hours, clips of the massacre began circulating online. r/WatchPeopleDie became one of the main hubs where the footage was reposted, shared, and discussed. Users uploaded mirrors of the video faster than moderators could delete them, and that was the breaking point. Reddit administrators stepped in and banned the subreddit entirely, citing the spread of violent content depicting real-world tragedy. After the takedown, Reddit also removed related communities like r/WatchPeopleDieInside and r/WatchPeopleSurvive, though those were comparatively pretty tame. But by then, the damage was already done. Thousands of people had seen something that they'd never forget. The ban became one of the most defining moments in Reddit's history, marking the end of an era where anything was allowed in the name of free speech. Now, this next one isn't really like a serial killer board or a secret ARG, it's the opposite. A forum built on a single internet promise. r/OP-Delivers. r/OP-Delivers is literally a place to post proof that OP delivered. Someone makes a claim, asks for something, or promises a follow-up, and then people dump receipts when the original poster actually shows up with photos, videos, or receipts that they did the thing. So on the surface, it's a celebration of follow-through, the internet's version of pics or it didn't happen. Except here, the pics are the point. The subreddit itself exists as an archive of those moments. Because of that setup, the tone of the sub is chaotic and occasionally gross or dark. Not because the community is malicious, but because humans say wild things and sometimes actually do them. You'll find some wholesome stuff. Someone literally built a fence for an orphanage and posted proof. You'll find weird prank fulfillment, cosplay reveals, and then the posts that make you pause. Surgical/medical mishaps, extreme DIY failures, or people delivering on grotesque dares. There are threads where OP really did show up with photos of things most people don't want to see, like a patient who arrived in the ER with barbecue tongs lodged in their rectum, and the sub archives that sort of raw reality alongside the wholesome wins. That mix is what makes it weird. r/OP-Delivers is old school Reddit culture. The whole OP-Delivers meme and tradition long predates the sub, but the subreddit became the tidy place to collect the best receipts. Its vibe even inspired small indie projects that riffed on Reddit lore. For example, web pieces and a little 2D platformer made as a playful homage to Reddit culture used the OP-Delivers idea as part of the joke. That shows how embedded the phrase became in site culture, from memes to a functioning community archive. Now, there's not really been any controversy or major scandal or ban or anything tied to the subreddit in the same way that the other subs in this video have had. It's not a hate hub or a place built to harm people, but still, because it's a raw catalog of what people actually do, it sometimes contains content that brushes up against Reddit's more graphic corners. Emergency room photos, gore-adjacent medical stories, or intentionally provocative dares. Those are isolated posts rather than an organized project of harm, but they're why the sub can feel off-putting or disturbing if you scroll long enough. I couldn't find reporting that the subreddit was ever at the center of an actual major platform crackdown. Why it fits with the other disturbing subreddits, though, is that it shows a kind of internet sickness. I don't know, I guess it just shows, like, human nature, I guess, you know? Next, I want to talk about r/gangstalking. The term gangstalking refers to a conspiracy theory where people believe they're being followed, watched, or harassed by organized groups. Sometimes the government, sometimes neighbors, sometimes complete strangers acting in sync. To these users, every honk outside, every flicker of a streetlight, every stranger's glance becomes proof that they're being targeted. It's the digital home of people convinced they're part of a secret experiment or surveillance operation. The r/gangstalking subreddit started in the early 2010s as a place for so-called targeted individuals to share their experiences. At first glance, the posts read like horror stories. People describing being stalked by coordinated strangers, hearing voices, having their electronics hacked, or being hit by directed energy weapons. But the scariest part isn't the stories, it's how believable they seem when everyone in the comments agrees. Instead of getting help, users reinforce each other's paranoia. It becomes an echo chamber of fear. It's like fucked up, kinda. Mental health experts have repeatedly spoken about the gangstalking phenomenon, calling it a form of shared delusional disorder, the digital age version of mass psychosis. Even major outlets like Vice, The Atlantic, and The New York Times have reported on this community. They talk about how these spaces trap vulnerable people inside their own spiraling narratives. And Reddit's moderation history shows that r/gangstalking has been banned and recreated multiple times for exactly that reason, spreading content linked to severe paranoia and self-harm risk. When Reddit first banned it, the reasoning wasn't just misinformation, it was safety, more so. The site's administrators found that the subreddit had become dangerous, not to anybody outside of it, but to its own members. Some users were isolating themselves from family, cutting off friends, or refusing psychiatric treatment because the community convinced them that they were victims of a real-world conspiracy. After bans, smaller offshoots like r/targeted individuals and r/gangstalking sub appeared, continuing that same cycle. And that's the end of this video, guys. Thank you for watching so much. I hope you enjoyed this one. Sorry if my voice sounds weird. I had to switch mics because I'm moving right now, but you know, it's fine. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a great night and sweet dreams.